Okay, so I'm sure many of you guys have seen this, but there's a girl who has recently gone mega viral on TikTok. I am a little bit late to this. It's been like a week, which is a lifetime on the internet, but fret not. I'm here to cover this. And boy, did this piss me off. Be warned, because this feels like straight rage bait. We also won't be covering all of it because there's like 25 parts and a half, and we're really just doing the prequel. But don't worry, because we got a whole lot to talk about. Let's get into it.
I fell in love with my psychiatrist, and he knew that, and he kept me for years as a patient until I was brave enough to leave him. I want to talk about it.
So at this point, I was completely hooked. Like, I have no experiences or have heard any stories about people falling in love with their therapist. And this one's getting a lot of traction, which means that it must be some good, juicy story time. But nothing, and I tell you, nothing could have prepared me for what she was gonna say next.
I would really like to discuss what happens when we fall in love with our mental health professionals, and most importantly, the fact that there are so many people, especially men, that are emotionally dead inside, that feel called to going into psychiatry and therapy so they don't have to feel their feelings, but they can feed off of the vulnerability of their mostly female patients. What do you guys think?
That your psychiatrist must be a vampire or something? Like, I've never heard of anything like this. But who knows? I mean, like, there are bad apples in every single department. She might have got super unlucky, or this is like an actual problem. So I wanted to give her a chance.
Yes, I told him often that I had a crush on him, told him all the time that I thought he was attractive, and he just would smile and not say anything because he was the king of plausible deniability. He didn't ever ask me if I had a crush on him, but he didn't do anything when I told him.
So you told him that you liked him, found him attractive, and he literally didn't do anything? What she implies is because he didn't want to admit his feelings for her and to keep up plausible deniability. But or maybe he's just doing his job as a professional and doesn't like you?
Oh, he wasn't just fine with me having a crush on him and being in love with him. He loved it. And he had every ethical duty to end the psychiatric relationship when he found out that I had a crush on him, but he kept me for years.
She's talking like she's some sort of prisoner while willfully getting in her car, driving to the office, going inside the door, sitting down for some time with a therapist, and then paying for it just to do it all again. Like, what was he supposed to say when you confessed him? You know, like, get the f*** out of my office.
This is what I mean. He was a 38-year-old, attractive, smart, extremely successful psychiatrist, but he did not date. Why didn't he date? Because he got his emotional needs met, feeding off of his patients.
How do you know that? At this point, I thought there's no way this isn't rage bait. Like a 38-year-old man not wanting to date? That's their business. It doesn't have to be because he siphoned all of the love out of his patients. Like, how do you even jump to this conclusion? This is some D1 projecting.
Sorry, but what did you want him to do? Get rid of you as a patient? Yes, that's what they're taught in psychiatric training, is that the moment that there is romantic feelings, it is on them to transfer that patient out. Without a doubt.
I had to look this up just to make sure, but she is just completely wrong. She said without a doubt, but maybe she should have had some. As long as it hasn't become a big enough issue that it's distracting the therapy. It would be highly unethical if he did have a crush, which hasn't been confirmed yet. But once again, you could have stopped at any point.
Was I going through something psychologically? Let me be perfectly clear here. Even if I was going through something psychologically, it was on my psychiatrist to do something about it because he was the one with the ethical training and the psychiatric knowledge.
Did we as a people just stop taking accountability? She says it's his responsibility because he has ethical training, which is not necessary for someone to have ethics and boundaries, which she clearly recognizes because she's making all of these videos condemning him for breaking ethics. Like, did she have to take a class to know that professing your love to your psychiatrist probably wasn't a good idea?
He also diagnosed me with not only ADHD, but other trauma, stressor related disorders. He did not tell me about that diagnosis until I asked him a year and a half later. But what he did with that diagnosis was he used it to recreate attachment bonds and make me addicted to him.
What? Okay, I will give her some credit because intake, prescriptions, addicted, yeah, get it? But what? Now, you might have noticed not once has she given any evidence that the psychiatrist had any feelings for her. So I was sitting here waiting for that smoking gun. Like, there has to be some solid reason because she feels enough of a way to have to make these videos. And on the sixth one, in the middle of the prequel, she decided to share the evidence.
You absolutely get it, because predatory psychiatrists who feed off of the emotions and vulnerabilities of their patients, like for a living, they absolutely do not ever intend to catch feelings. They do not intend to catch feelings. But my psychiatrist accidentally caught feelings for me and I know that he did because he started leaking at the end. He accidentally told me one time that he had countertransference. That was a big slip for him.
Now, I thought for a second, wait, maybe she's onto something. Assuming she's telling the truth, him countering a transfer for her is actually kind of insane. Like, if she wanted to move to a different therapist and he was like, nah, you're staying with me, she might be onto something here. But then I realized that's not what countertransference is. Now, she says that it's when providers have inappropriate feelings for their patients, which is kind of true, but not, because the way she puts it implies that it has to be romantic feelings. What it really means is when a provider allows their feelings to affect their therapy, which can be romantic, but also parental, rescuing, and negative, which means no, that doesn't necessarily mean that he liked you. In fact, he could have seen you as a kid or just straight up hated you.
Oh, I know it's common, but what's unethical about this situation is that my psychiatrist did not help me work through my feelings. What my psychiatrist did was stayed completely silent as I would pour out my love and devotion to him, and he just drank it in and did nothing to help me work through those feelings.
Now, I do think that it actually would be a problem if the therapist didn't do literally anything when she confessed to feelings, not even try to talk her through them, why she might be having those feelings. But I heavily doubt that he was sitting there like some evil villain. I feel like it's much more likely that she just wasn't receptive to any of that. How did we go from he's cute and I have a crush to pouring out your love and devotion for him? And this is a man that you see for an hour once a month.
Many broken and wounded men are attracted to psychiatry when they're in med school because they learn that they have access to vulnerability, to extreme vulnerability that they themselves don't allow themselves to feel or access, but they can get it from their patients. So that's why they can do anything, but they go to psychiatry so they can feed off of the vulnerability of their patients and be the wounded healer instead of having to just face their own demons. Yeah, I will not be seeing another male psychiatrist again.
I feel like she just made this whole theory up. Where's this idea of male therapists getting into therapy just so they can feed off the emotional energy of their female patients? How many dudes do you know that are just sitting there waiting to be trauma dumped on every single day? And for due diligence, I had to look it up because I wasn't sure if this was a real thing or not. But all I got is that it's harmful to generalize male psychiatrists like that. And if anything, both male and females are emotionally dead due to the amount of trauma they have to tank every single day.
Yeah, he let me see him every month, even though I only had to see him every 3 months. This is what I mean. He loved attention from me. He didn't ever tell me I only need to see you every 3 months.
Yes, he did. Because when he said that he only had to see you once every 3 months, that means that was a minimum amount of time that he needed to see you. The rest was extra credit that you decided to do.
This is the hard part about this story, is that he was so good at plausible deniability. He was really smart and good at being a predator.
Oh my God. Yo, can we just acknowledge that maybe he just didn't like you?
So he didn't ever ask me to give him sexual content. I did that on my own.
Huh?
And he just let it happen, and he let me keep talking. He did not stop and redirect the conversation as a normal psychiatrist would have.
No, the normal psychiatrist would have just let you keep talking about what you want to talk about. Now, I'm not going to claim to know exactly how they're supposed to respond in these situations, but I think just listening isn't a bad choice. I mean, I feel like that's 90% of their job anyways.
I didn't mean to fall in love with my psychiatrist. He used things and trauma that I had went through in the past. He did his best to use that against me and to groom me to fall in love with him so I could give him content for his fantasy.
Now, I'm not going to say that adults can't be groomed because it is something that can happen to anyone, regardless of age, given enough time. But I think the older you get, the more responsibility you should have to shoulder before throwing out that kind of accusation. It has been clear through her storytelling that this man had no feelings for her. A lot of her beliefs and evidence are just pure guesses. Like, maybe you're old enough to not jump to the conclusion that your therapist must be in love with you because he gets paid to listen to you once a month.
He also would make me feel crazy when I would try to name the dynamic and the tension that was there between us that he himself manufactured and built. And then he would rage at me and tell me that I was wrong. It's crazy.
Yes, it is crazy that you thought this man was madly in love with you, even though he would rage at you for insisting that he was. Like, this can't be real, man. I must be going crazy.
This is what an ethical situation with transference looks like. A male provider, when their female patient has a crush on them. But what my psychiatrist gave me was silence, smirks, and exploitation.
So once again, he gave you no signs. What this whole thing sounds like is that she caught feelings during their therapy sessions, and when that wasn't reciprocated by the therapist, she couldn't handle the rejection and is coping by thinking that, yes, you for sure liked me and was leading me the whole time so that you could use me for emotional fulfillment. Which honestly just sounds like someone who can't come to terms with the fact that he didn't like you. And yes, you were absolutely fucking nuts. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, am I crazy? Am I the crazy one here? There's actually so much more of this that goes into deeper details, but I figured this would be a good stopping point since she changes her shirt.